today we want to talk about something that is probably the number one concern that we hear from our clients. And it's really around, will I have enough income in retirement? Hello and welcome. I'm Matt Landon. I'm joined by Jordan Shinsky. And today we want to talk about something that is probably the number one concern that we hear from our clients. And it's really around, will I have enough income in retirement? Will I have the finances that I need? Am I going to have that cash flow I need? When I step away from work, where's the money going to come from? How are we going to take it? This is an important topic. We've got a few things we're going to address here. The place I would say to start with is really around a budget. That's the number one area. There are some folks that come in, they know exactly how much they spend. There's others that don't. But even if you do have a clear idea of what you spend, I think we can agree in retirement there are some changes. And with that said, your spending may actually go up. It may go down. Many people give you this rule of thumb that says in retirement you can expect to spend 80% of what you did during your working years. You're not spending money on work clothes anymore. You're not spending money on that commute to work. Well, that may be true, but are you spending more time with your grandkids? Are you traveling more? Are you doing some of those things you've always wanted to do? In some cases, your retirement budget may actually go up from your current budget. So I think the place to start is with a budget and kind of know how much do I need. That's something that the advisors can help you with if you have trouble with that or have questions. But number two is kind of a distribution percentage. So why don't you talk us through what that is and how that works?
Right. So once you've established your portfolio that you've been building these years to accumulate, when we look at your financial demand within retirement, we have to kind of figure out what a working distribution rate on that portfolio is going to be that you can be able to sustain yourself throughout the next 20 or 30 years within retirement. So typically speaking, when we're looking at it very generically, we try to find a happy balance around 3 to 4% of a distribution rate from a portfolio. Now the question is that enough to sustain you? And that's why having that first conversation about budgeting, about what your expectations in retirement are going to be. Because if let's say I have a financial demand, I need $100,000 a year. Okay. I have a portfolio that's $1 million. Well, self-funding $100,000 a year demand is generally going to be a 10% distribution rate, isn't it?
It is.
That's pretty high on a portfolio. So now we have to figure out what is a healthy rate of return? What can we establish that is going to maintain itself into the future? And so that's a big part of the conversation.
I would agree with that entirely. And then also making sure, because we're tying this in with the next topic here, is inflation. So if you've maxed out that rate of return from a distribution standpoint, if your drawdown is running at the higher threshold and then inflation kicks in, well, now we've got a problem. And we did a whole separate video. You can find it in our catalog. We did a whole other video on inflation and the impacts of inflation. And I think the takeaway was that there are periods of high inflation. There are periods of low inflation. But one thing that we're going to have is inflation here to stay. Now, whether it's running at that 8-9% we experienced during the tail end of COVID, or whether it's a more sustainable 2.5-3%, inflation's going to continue creeping up. And so you can't assume that what you're spending today will suffice long term. We need to build that in the plan. I also know it seems like inflation hits us, but I feel like the other thing that we know is going to be inflating is taxes. Right? So I've heard some folks that say, well, wait a minute, my spouse just passed away. Why did my tax bill go up? So let's talk taxes in retirement. There's a lot of factors there.
No, absolutely. That's something you have to take into consideration. And you would allude to it. When someone passes away, you think, oh, well, there's one less mouth to feed. We don't have as many expenses. We have less income in the household. Why would I go up in a tax bracket? Well, it's because you went from married filing jointly to now you're a single filer. And that changes things quite significantly. It can potentially change things quite significantly. So that's a conversation that we have to have. You have to kind of project out the potentiality of that happening and understanding that regardless of what they are, there is going to be a tax demand on the portfolio. Now, can we reposition some of that money to make it less impactful? Absolutely. And that's where sitting down with your financial advisor and discussing some maybe tax advantage programs could work well to plan for the future.
Absolutely. And then lastly, and I think this one's key, is it factors in with the inflation piece, with the tax piece, with everything else, is life longevity. Here's the plain and simple of it. We're living longer than we used to. Overall, folks are living longer. I would expect one of you, if you're a married couple, one of you is going to make it into your 90s or beyond. And with that said, we have to be planning for the future. Now, we have some different resources available, but I think a conversation is key. But you may not be in a position where you want to sit down and talk to an advisor yet. So what are some other things people can do before just jumping straight to a face-to-face appointment? Should they do a phone call, or is there information? Where would they take their next steps?
Well, we have one of these packets available that kind of talks through some of the subjects that we just discussed today. You can also go on our website. You can request this packet either in the mail or as a PDF that we can email to you. But giving someone a call, there's no fees for consultations or anything of that nature.
Absolutely.
If you have questions, give your financial advisor a call, give us a call here at Semmax. We'll be more than happy to sit down and kind of talk you through any concerns that you have.
Absolutely. And I would just leave you with this one final note. I've said it before, I think it's great if you have a financial advisor. It never hurts to get a second opinion. And you can't get a second opinion from the guy that gave you the first one. On behalf of Jordan, myself, and the rest of the Semmax team, thank you so much for watching. We hope you have a wonderful day, and take care.
The goal of our team here at Semmax Financial Group is to help you focus more on your life and less on your money. Now, as a reminder, check with your current advisor, planner, CPA, and read our disclosure in the video description below. Subscribe to this channel if you want to stay up to date on all of our new content. And by the way, if you have questions or need a 15-minute free consultation, please visit semmax.com or call 336-856-0080.